Introducing Cashculator 2.2, the ultimate solution for effortless financial management. Now with the power of CSV import, Cashculator is even more convenient and efficient. But when might you need to utilize this feature? 1. If you want to use Cashculator alongside or instead of another money management app. 2. If you already have valuable data stored in Excel or any spreadsheet and want to seamlessly bring it into Cashculator. Or 3. If you want to save valuable time by importing information directly from your bank or credit card statements. But what exactly are CSV files? Well, let's dive into the details. CSV stands for comma separated values, a simple, human-readable text file format commonly used to store tabular data. They are ideal for transferring data from one system to another and are commonly used by financial institutions for downloading transactions. This makes them ideal for importing bank and credit card statements into Cashculator, so let's learn how to do that. You can start by navigating to the File menu and selecting Import Transactions from CSV. Choose the CSV file you want to import, and Cashculator will parse the transactions and present them in a neatly organized table. CSV files from different banks may have different data in the CSV file, and their structure may differ. To proceed with the import, Cashculator needs to know which columns represent the following information, such as date of the transaction, amount of the transaction, whether it's income or expense, and optionally, a description. Above each column, you'll find a drop-down control to set the column type, including the option to skip the column if you don't want to bring that column's data into Cashculator. Cashculator will also try to automatically detect the date column. But if the file has more than one column of dates, such as transaction dates as well as settlement date, you may need to choose which one you want to use. To prevent ambiguity, the selected date column will always present its dates in the year, month, day format. For description, select the column containing the text that best describes the transactions. To import the amounts, there are two approaches to selecting column types, depending on how the data in the CSV file is represented. Some files will have separate columns for income and expense transactions. In this case, select the corresponding option for each. If your statement only shows expenses, even negative expenses, like statement credits including for returned items, you can select a column to be expenses. Other files will have one column that lists both incoming and outgoing transactions, usually differing by their sign. In that case, select amount as the column type. Cashculator will assume negative transactions are expenses and import them into expenses, but with a positive sign. For each row, you can choose the category into which the transaction from that row will be placed. If you don't specify a category, in other words, if the default no category remains, the transaction will be imported into a category called unsorted at the bottom of the table. A category with this name will be added to the income or expenses screens automatically if they don't already exist. You can sort unsorted transactions later using the move commands from the list of transactions for a cell. That being said, it's more efficient to choose categories in the import window. When you choose a category for a row and a description column is selected, Cashculator will remember which category corresponds to which description. Next time you import CSV files, descriptions identical to previously saved matches will be pre-populated with their corresponding categories. In other words, although it may be slow going the first time you import a particular data source, Cashculator remembers your choices and it will go faster next time. Rest assured, you can always change these matches manually and your choice will be updated. If multiple rows should be imported into the same category, there are faster ways to do so instead of choosing the same category for each row one by one. Here are two time-saving approaches. 1. You can select more than one row at a time using the usual macOS methods like dragging across rows, shift-clicking for selecting between clicked rows, or command-clicking for adding or removing individual rows to the selection. Then select a category using a button on any of the selected rows. Once a category is selected, all the selected rows will update with that category. And for the second time-saving approach, you can filter transactions by description using the search field in the upper right-hand corner of the table. When you enter text, Only rows that contain the specified text in any column will be shown. Choose a category for any of the rows. Cashculator will show an alert asking you to confirm that you wish to apply that category to all the matching transactions. If a chosen category is inside a group, the name of that group will appear in the rightmost column of the table for your convenience. Before you proceed to import, you have the option to fine-tune the list of transactions that will be added to Cashculator. By default, no rows are selected for import. Each row has a checkbox in the first column to its left, and you can check or uncheck each row individually. To select or deselect all rows, you can click the checkbox in the header of that column. When you select a category for a transaction, its row will also be checked automatically. Once everything is set up, click Import on the bottom right-hand corner of the window. If the button appears grayed out, it means Cashculator needs a bit more information before finishing the import. Make sure that at least one row is checked for import and that date and amount, income or expenses columns have been identified. If you find some incompatible CSV files or have other concerns, questions, or suggestions, feel free to write so on our forums or write to our support.